Hi, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and we have three main topics to talk about today. We have somebody, not me, saying that Frankie Luvu will make it to his first Pro Bowl. We're going to talk about that. We also have some Ben Sinnott hype starting to grow as well. And then there was a discussion about the Washington Commanders. Should they bring Charles Leno back or not? We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. Oh, happy 4th of July to everybody as well. Again, I've been super busy lately, but I'm trying to get back to the point that I'm doing daily uploads. Not saying that I will already, but that's the goal. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. I really appreciate y'all. Let's go and dive into the video instead of wasting more of y'all time. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with Frankie Luvu making his first Pro Bowl, and I will argue it's long overdue. I mean, the way he's played in Carolina, you could argue he should have made a Pro Bowl at least once the past couple of years, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports did an article of 20 candidates to become first-time Pro Bowlers in 2024. And out of 4 linebackers that he had on the list, he also had our Frankie Luvu, who we signed as a free agent, veteran free agent in this past 2024 free agency during the offseason, all that type of stuff. And what he said was, as a description, because he gave everybody like a quick little 1 to 2 sentence description of why he picked them. He said, a downhill difference maker during his recent time with the Carolina Panthers, Luvu now joins a Dan Quinn-led Commanders club that also features savvy veteran Bobby Wagner. As a blitzing off-ball starter, he should excel. I'm very excited about Frankie Luvu, of course. I mean, Dan Quinn already spoke about him, and there was like sometime, I believe it was a mandatory minicamp, he was asked about the versatility of the team, and he specifically went out of his way to name Jeremy Chin, Quan Martin, and Frankie Luvu as those 3 guys. I don't remember in the question the reporter asking about those names specifically. I remember Dan Quinn bringing them up out of nowhere, and literally, he spoke so highly of Frankie Luvu, saying that his versatility will be pretty much a very important piece to the defense. And I mean, again, with his skill set, with his ability to blitz, I mean, and we're not even just talking about like coming off the edge. We're talking about straight through the A-gap, blowing up guards and centers, like crazy stuff. And don't you dare try to block him with a running back in pass protection, because again, if he's blowing up 300-pound guards, he's gonna run right through a running back. And then he's also pretty decent in coverage. He's a great run stuffer, sideline to sideline speed. This is a do-it-all linebacker that can do every single thing that you need. With the way that the modern NFL era is working right now, instead of having 3 linebackers on the field, you usually have 2, so that means that those 2 linebackers have to do more. You know, back when it was more often than not, you had 3 linebackers on the field, and you had one guy that was primarily a run stuffer, maybe one guy that was primarily a coverage guy, maybe another guy that was kind of going after the quarterback, coming off the edge like the Sam. The Mike is more the run stuffer, the Will is more the coverage guy. Now, when you have these 2 linebackers on the field, they kind of have to do all 3 roles. And I mean, most linebackers don't, but you know, that's the goal. That's what you want out of a linebacker, and Frankie Luvu provides that. And I think that this is a great chance for him to make a Pro Bowl, because the Carolina Panthers, I feel like, I mean, granted, if you're just an elite player, you're gonna make the Pro Bowl or All-Pro no matter what, but I feel like a lot of it does have to deal with popularity. I mean, the same reason that London Fletcher's not in the Hall of Fame right now. And he has a Super Bowl with another team, but he spent so much time with the Commanders, even though that he was elite. And if you compare his stats to Ray Lewis, they're actually very similar career-wise, but not in the Hall of Fame. Ray Lewis, a first ballot Hall of Famer, all of that type of stuff. So I just feel like the same thing with Frankie Luvu in Carolina. I mean, he's so underrated because he's a great linebacker, but people just, in general with not really watching Carolina Panthers games. Just, I mean, I don't think I watched a single Carolina Panthers game live last year. I'm not even gonna say a lot to you. I had to watch the tape on them. But when leading up to free agency and I was looking for the top free agents that I wanted the Commanders to sign, I had to go back and look at Carolina Panthers tape. But have I seen Frankie Luvu play live? Not necessarily. I had to go look at the All-22, and a lot of people don't feel like going back to watch the All-22. So this guy just does not get the love and the coverage and the notoriety that he deserves. He needs the exposure. I think he'll get that with the Washington Commanders. First of all, this defense, I think, is going to be one of the best. It's going to go from bottom 5 to, I believe, top 15, top 10 in the NFL, with the potential to be top 5 depending on what our outside corners and our edge rushers play like. But I think safeties, I think interior defensive linemen and linebacker-wise, we're about to be great to elite at those certain positions. We just got to worry about outside corner and edge rusher. But Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. are such geniuses at disguising coverages, generating, manufacturing pressure through scheme, not even necessarily just a player winning 1v1s, but setting players up to succeed. I think Frankie Luvu literally just has to go out there and do what he does best. He doesn't have to overthink it. He doesn't have to overcompensate from playing next to other bad linebackers. He has Bobby Wagner there. I'm very high on Jordan McGee. Jamie Davis is going to be rushing the edge more, but he's still a pretty solid and developing linebacker that's only getting better as well. I think Frankie Luvu is going to shine. I mean, Bobby Wagner is going to be your quarterback of the defense, but that's another thing. With Bobby Wagner handling a lot of the mental things and making sure everybody's where they need to be, play recognition type of stuff, Frankie Luvu is going to be able to just run around and be explosive and be a freak athlete that he is, and just be the madman that he is, really. I mean, again, he just runs heads up with guards, people like almost double his weight, it seems, and he's just completely exploding into them, and it allows other people to make plays, but sometimes he's even the one that makes plays. He's willing to sacrifice himself. I can't wait to see him go out there. But this takes me to the point that when I did a video a few weeks ago, when Doug Farrar of Touchdown Wire, he did an article of the NFL's 11 best linebackers. And if y'all saw that video, you already know, but he had Fred Warner, #1 of the San Francisco 49ers, perfectly reasonable. And remember, this is a guy that Adam Peters played a part in drafting for the 49ers. Now he's here. Hopefully he has the same luck with Jordan McGee. We'll see. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even call it luck. I mean, it's a lot of scouting, it's a lot of interviewing, it's a lot of film watching and things like that. Hopefully he hits the jackpot again with that one. We'll see, because Fred Warner was not a first-round pick, but he's the best linebacker in the NFL right now. Jordan McGee could potentially be the same thing if Adam Peters likes him as much as he liked Fred Warner coming out of the draft. But either way, Fred Warner was #1. Frankie Luvu is #2. #2. And Doug Farrar said in it that Luvu was ranked 11th on last year's list, just making the cut because he does the top 11 linebackers pretty much every season. Frankie Luvu barely made it at number 11 last year. This time he has him at #2. And if you also go look at his article on Touchdown Wire, he literally shows you example clips of why he feels like Frankie Luvu is the second best linebacker in all of football. He has my Georgia dog, Roquan Smith, 3rd, which I'm not mad at. You know what I'm saying? I love you, Roquan, but hey, man, if Frankie Luvu on the Commanders is 2nd, even better. And then he has Demario Davis 4. He has Bobby Okereke from the New York Giants 5th. He has Dre Greenlaw 6th. That's another Adam Peters pick. That's literally an Adam Peters pick. Fred Warner may have been somewhat of a collab, but I remember, I think Kyle Shanahan said it himself, Adam Peters ran rounds 4 through 7. Dre Greenlaw was drafted in the 5th round. So maybe that's maybe a closer comp to Jordan McGee, who was also drafted in the 5th round with similar athletic traits as well. Matt Milano 7th. And then he has TJ Edwards of the Chicago Bears 8th. Then he has Quincy Williams of the New York Jets 9th. Then he has Levante David, still at this age, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 10th. And then lastly, he has Patrick Queen from the Ravens, now currently on the Steelers. But again, just to remind you, he has Frankie Luvu #2. And shouts out to Seth Jones of Rigo's Rag, because he did a Commanders film room on Frankie Luvu's impact and Dan Quinn's scheme. I'm not going to read the entire article. I'm only just going to give you like the subsections that he has explaining why Frankie Luvu will be such a huge piece to this potentially elite defense that we're going to put out there this year. They posted this article literally just June 30th. This was fairly recent, and they do like a full deep dive into Frankie Luvu's skill sets and game and things like that. So just reading the main titles throughout the article, they have Commanders are getting effort and athleticism with Frankie Luvu. Frankie Luvu's awareness and sure tackling can help the Commanders, and Frankie Luvu's zone coverage capabilities. Those are like the 3 main sections to the article, and then again under those sections they do full detailed breakdowns as to what they mean and how it helps the Commanders and how he does it and things like that. So make sure you go check out that article if you haven't already. But I'm just giving you all of the Frankie Luvu love that's gone down recently, since we're already here talking about him. And speaking of Frankie Luvu, how about this entire linebackers core in general? Well, you have Mike Clay that did like a linebacker group ranking out of the entire NFL, ranked every linebacker group in the NFL, and has a point system as well. Well, just to let you know, the Commanders were the only team to get a perfect grade of 4.0 at linebacker from Clay in his position by position rankings, even beating out the San Francisco 49ers, who have Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, 2 of the top 11 linebackers according to Doug Farrar, and then Jacksonville Jaguars are 3rd with a 3.8, Jets are 4th with a 3.6. And just to let you know, for comparison, Clay ranked the Commanders linebackers 29th in the NFL last year with a 0.6 grade heading into the 2023 season, and he was not wrong. And so now that he has us #1, I'm just gonna hope that he's right 2 years in a row. He knew we were gonna have a bad linebacker core last year, but now he's saying we're gonna have the best linebacker core in the NFL. I'm just hoping that he's right again. Hey, keep doing your thing, Mike Clay. You spitting. Let's go. But man, I mean, that's just incredible to go from one of the worst linebacker cores last year to one of the best, arguably the best linebacker groups in the NFL just in one offseason is amazing. Most of it was done through free agency with Frankie Luvu and Bobby Wagner, but I also am very high on Jordan McGee out of the 5th round because I think he can be somewhat of like a Dre Greenlaw if he's given opportunities. Now, granted, he has a lot of people above him on the depth chart, even though technically it's only 2, because again, Jamin Davis is really starting to step into like almost a full-time edge rusher role, going after the quarterback role type of thing. So really, Jordan McGee is technically 3rd on the depth chart in linebacker, which means he will play quite a bit. He may not necessarily be the starter, but he's going to play a significant amount of snaps every game. So I think he'll have the chance to develop into a Dre Greenlaw. But again, it's just amazing that the transformation that Adam Peters has done on this linebacker group in just one offseason is absolutely applaud worthy. And I think that's going to be the spearhead for why this defense also has a huge transformation, going from last year, bottom 5, to potentially top 15, top 10, maybe even top 5 this year. I can't wait. But most importantly, to bring it all back, Frankie Luvu is going to be a huge part of this because Bobby Wagner is a great linebacker, but he's getting up there in age. And it's kind of a good and bad thing that he had his best statistical season last year as far as tackles. He had the most tackles in a season out of his entire NFL career just recently last year for the Seattle Seahawks. And I mean, that's a good thing. It shows that he still got it, but at the same time, that's mileage added. And so we can't necessarily depend on him to be the Bobby Wagner that he was when he was making all-pro selections, when he was making the Pro Bowl, or even just last year. Can we necessarily even go into the season and safely assume that he would literally be the same exact guy as he was last year? Maybe we can safely assume that he'll be most of what he was last year. He'll be really good. He'll be better than Cody Barton. He'll be better than David Mayo. That's safe. But will he be 100% of 2023 Bobby Wagner? I'm not even necessarily sure of that. So that leaves the area open, the opportunity for Frankie Luvu to go out there and be the best linebacker on this team. Again, Bobby Wagner is going to be the quarterback of the defense. He's going to wear the green dot. He's going to have the headset on. He's going to be the guy basically orchestrating the defense, make sure everybody's where they need to be, play recognition. We've already seen how elite that is with already in practices with how he's revealed to Samuel Cosmi that he knew that he was going to be pulling as a guard, even though Samuel Cosmi tried his best to not show it. So Bobby Wagner is going to be huge for that. And again, like I said earlier, him focusing on a lot of the mental and awareness and IQ things is going to allow Frankie Luvu to do what he does best, and that's think less and move more. Be explosive, be instinctual, go out there and just ball out. Be more proactive than reactive. With Bobby Wagner holding down a lot of the making sure everything is all right around me stuff, Frankie Luvu could just be a straight dog and just see ball, get ball type of thing. So I'm expecting him to look like the best linebacker in this, even though Bobby Wagner's going to do a lot of the dirty work that may not necessarily show up on the stat sheet as far as putting everybody around him in the best situations to succeed, being like, okay, I've seen this formation before in the All-22 when they do this shift or whatever, or this running back moves to this side right before they snap the ball, that means it's this play. He lets everybody know that. They know that's what he's worrying about. Frankie Luvu was like, okay, bet. Thanks for the comms. I'm going to get him. He's seeking missiles. So I just can't wait. I just think the linebacker group's going to be elite, but I think Frankie Luvu is going to be the guy that we probably see making the most plays, even compared to Bobby Wagner. Now moving on to the Ben Sinnott hype that's going on right now. Well, Brad Gagnon of Bleacher Report back on May 22nd did a list of 6 NFL backups who could be household names by the end of the 2024 season. He has Los Angeles Rams running back Blake Corum. He has Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren. He has New Orleans Saints running back Kendre Miller. He has Green Bay Packers wide receiver Dontavian Hicks. And then he also has Tennessee Titans quarterback Mason Rudolph. And so, I mean, half this list is running backs, first of all. Let's just get that out the way. Then there's a wide receiver. Then there's a quarterback. The only tight end on this list is Ben Sinnott of the Washington Commanders. And he does like a decent breakdown. He says, why is he a backup? That's like a small little explanation there. Then is why it might not stay that way. And then there's also why he can flourish. So those are like the 3 guidelines as to why he has each person on this list. For Ben Sinnott, he says, why is he a backup? Veteran Zach Ertz has earned respect after such a strong career, and Commanders need that experience for young elements such as Ben Sinnott and quarterback Jaden Daniels to develop at their own pace. Completely agree. Not missing. Why it might not stay that way though? Ertz likely doesn't have much left in him. The 33-year-old hasn't been much of a factor since he was with the Eagles and the Cardinals, and with Logan Thomas gone, there aren't many other good options on the tight end depth chart. I'd push back against that, because I think Armani Rogers has the highest ceiling of any tight end in this room. If we're just talking about pure freak athlete, one of the highest ceilings of any tight end in the NFL. You just literally can't teach the athleticism, explosion, and speed that he has with the measurables that he did. You just can't. Him, Jeremy Chin, and Tyler Owens are like the most athletic freaks we have on this entire team, and arguably some of the biggest athletic freaks in the entire NFL. This is a very athletic team. I don't think people have necessarily noticed, especially with Samuel Cosme at right guard. That's an elite athlete is there as well. Brandon Coleman. We have some like 9.99 relative athletic score type of guys on this team. Straight 10.0 type of guys. And hey man, Armani Rogers is one of them. And then you also have John Bates, arguably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. And then you have Ben Sinnott and still Zach Ertz as well. That's a strong forward. Then you also have Cole Turner, who, if in the right system, goes to the right quarterback that likes to throw contested catch passes, that would be, he could put up 1,000 yards a season, I believe. It just takes the right system. I don't think Cole Turner is everybody's cup of tea, but like any quarterback that is okay with throwing it up there and letting a big guy just go up there and make a play, basically just go up there and catch a rebound, that Cole Turner would be a lovely guy for that. I mean, this is great depth in his tight end room is basically my main point. But continuing with the article, then they say why he can flourish. Sinnott put up 676 yards in 12 games last year at Kansas State, and he got the speed and positional versatility to be a factor in a multitude of ways right off the bat in Washington. So he's expecting the Ben Sinnott to come out there and already show why we took him in the second round immediately as soon as week 1. And then you also have Script at P2W Fantasy. He talked about why Ben Sinnott is a great dynasty tight end to roster right now. So if you're doing those fantasy drafts right now, where like you pick your team and then you stick with that team for several seasons, and then you just basically do a draft like how we do a real life draft, then you got to go and pick up the rookies as well, and you got to go year by year. So it's kind of like some future projection. It's not just how good can they be this year, you're also kind of trying to project how good they could be in the future as well, years down the line. And he's proven the point that Ben Sinnott could end up being one of those guys in a dynasty league where like you're super lucky to get him. He's going to pay off dividends. The stock may be low now, but it's going to be super high later. And he even quote tweeted his own tweet, but the original tweet says Ben Sinnott took a huge statistical leap in his final K-State college season, leading the team with 676 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. So he led the entire team as a receiver, but he was a tight end, and not only a tight end, but like a hybrid fullbacker tight end type of guy. Not even just a pure big slot like a Mike Gesicki. No, this is a guy that was a lead blocker at times. He was the fullback in the backfield leading the way for the running back. He was outside of the tackle leading the way for the running back to the outside as well. I mean, this guy was literally everywhere, blocking, running routes, catching passes, even carrying the ball sometimes. And so continuing with the sweet hybrid fullback and tight end who can produce at all 3 levels with yak upside, definitely provides some yak. He's not necessarily, I mean, he tested ridiculous, but he may not necessarily be as fast on tape as his 40 time showed at the combine, but boy, trying to bring him down, like actually tackle him and bring him down to the ground, you may be able to catch up to him, but good luck bringing him down to the ground, especially being the first guy that does it. 2nd round draft capital by Washington with a long-term attachment to Jaden Daniels. So he also points out the fact that he's on the same team as Jaden Daniels is another reason why this is a great investment for the future if you're doing dynasty leagues as well. And just to take y'all back to Ben Sinnott's profile as a draft pick, before we even took him, he had the highest vert of 40 inches, longest broad jump 10 feet 6 inches, and fastest 3-cone 6.82 of any tight end at the entire combine. Any tight end. The highest vert, longest broad jump, and fastest 3-cone. So he was the most explosive and the quickest change of direction tight end out of any tight end at the combine. I just really want to emphasize that. He also had the 2nd best relative athletic score with a 9.72, only behind Theo Johnson, who's just a pure freak athlete, but at the same time very raw. Ben Sinnott, I mean, making the jump from college to the NFL, it's hard to say that any rookie isn't necessarily at least somewhat raw, but this guy is a guy that can come in and play week 1. He may not necessarily be a star by week 1, but he's going to be able to contribute and make plays and to make his presence known, I think, as soon as week 1. Whereas Theo Johnson, freak athlete, unlimited potential at tight end, but I mean, super raw, didn't really give you much in college at all. I mean, there's not even like a safe projection to assume that athleticism will be able to be tapped into and actually utilized on Sundays. Whereas Ben Sinnott, you have proof of product there from his time at Kansas State, with also at the same time the elite ceiling. You could argue Ben Sinnott, I mean, outside of Brock Bowers, was probably the best linebacker in this draft. And even as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I can admit, with Brock Bowers being a little undersized, you can see a scenario where Ben Sinnott ends up being the better, or at least more productive tight end out of this entire draft class. Brock Bowers is probably going to put up more receiving yards and things like that, but as far as like being able to block, be a true dual threat, being versatile, being able to be a fullback, an inline tight end, out wide tight end, a big slot, I don't think anybody else does it better and from this past draft class than Ben Sinnott, so I'm super excited. Also, another, and I brought up a lot of these stats when I did the Ben Sinnott breakdown as to why we drafted him. Go check that out. That video is like over 30 minutes long. But just to remind you, tight ends to post a 40-inch vertical at 250 plus pounds and get drafted within the first 3 rounds of an NFL draft: Vernon Davis, Ben Sinnott, end of list. That's it. Out of the entire NFL history, that's it. So, hey, man, I'm telling you, just remember Vernon Davis, love him as a receiver, but could not block. Ben Sinnott can block. Go watch his highlights. He had that one play where he like pancaked an edge rusher and then pancaked that was either a linebacker or a defensive back, and then the quarterback just took a quarterback handoff and went untouched to the end zone. Literally untouched. Ben Sinnott just took care of everybody on the outside. Everybody. It was crazy. Like, he literally pancaked the edge rusher, and then he just politely escorted whichever the secondary defender was. I don't remember if it was a linebacker or a DB. Basically took him all the way back to the locker room. Like, come with me. You're done in this game. You're at least done with this play. Come take this walk with me real quick. It was just amazing. And then also, just to let you know, as far as production, I've talked about his blocking. I've talked about his elite ceiling, his potential. Ben Sinnott also left Kansas State tied for the most receiving touchdowns among all tight ends in the draft with 10. 3rd in receptions with 82, and 4th in receiving yards with 1,138. And that's again throughout the career. Ridiculous. He had 6 touchdowns last year alone. I'm telling you, man, Ben Sinnott is going to be crazy for us. And also, Ben Sinnott forced 14 missed tackles, 4th amongst all tight ends in college last year on 48 receptions. He was also 90th percentile in yards per route ran and 89th percentile in receiving grade versus single coverage. What do you do with him? He can block. He can go out there against single coverage and win. He can go out there against zone coverage and win. I mean, this guy is scary. I'm super excited about Ben Sinnott. I love the fact that he's receiving some hype from non-Commanders fans and reporters and people out there, and I think it's well deserved. Now, granted, he is a rookie, so a lot of this hype that we're getting from him, that we're getting from Jaden Daniels, I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously, because they're rookies. That transition from college to the NFL, again, It's no joke. We can't just assume that because they were great in college, they're going to be great at the NFL level. But I'm very excited because I think they have a great chance to be. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, and the reason we saved it for last is because Lorenzo Reyna of Pro Football Network believes the Commanders should re-sign Charles Leno ahead of training camp. Leno was released in March after playing 3 seasons with Washington and started 47 games at left tackle. And the article says Washington Commanders, Charles Leno, offensive tackle. So I believe it's like a whole article breaking down moves that every NFL team should make. And then they said, like the Tennessee Titans, the Washington Commanders have a young passer to keep intact in Jaden Daniels. Charles Leno Jr. can be brought back for experience and depth reasons, having spent the last 3 years in DC, starting in 47 total games. And let me go ahead and tell you why this makes absolutely zero sense. Maybe this guy didn't do a lot of research on the Commanders, but this makes zero sense. First of all, the reason he pretty much, I think he retired from football, is because he had to get a surgery. So he will not even be ready immediately. I don't even think he'll be healthy enough to play week 1. That's why I'm like, did this guy actually like really look into the situation to see like what's going on? Now, maybe Charles Leno's going to recover way faster than I expected. But I remember when he got the surgery and the reason why he just said, I'm done with football. I don't even think he's trying to sign with another team, let alone come back to this one after we cut him, which we're going to get to next. But also, is he even going to be healthy enough to play week 1? I think that's the point of bringing him in, because we already have Brandon Coleman, who we drafted in the 3rd round, who has an elite ceiling at tackle. I think at some point he will be potentially like a Pro Bowl left tackle. I think he has that level of ceiling. The problem is he ready by week 1? There's still some aspects to his game that we're not sure if he's going to be ready to go out there week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and be ready to protect Jaden Daniels. And I mean, protecting his blind side is a huge responsibility. But am I worried about Brandon Coleman long term? Not necessarily. But Charles Leno, if he's hurt, he can't even give you the short term while Brandon Coleman waits to give you the long term. So I'm not understanding that as well. And then on top of that, remember that Charles Leno was literally cut by this team. Like, Adam Peters came in and one of the first main moves that he made for this roster was to cut Charles Leno along with Nick Gates and Logan Thomas. But Charles Leno was the biggest one because right now he's an $8.25 million cap hit right now, not on the roster. Like, literally not playing for us, not on the team, still eating up a huge amount of cap space. If you're looking at cap hit wise, he's our 5th biggest cap hit and he's not even on the team. Like, he's more of a cap. The only people with a higher cap hit than him are Andrew Wiley, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Terry McLaurin. Charles Leno is hitting us more against our cap space than everybody else that I did not just name out our entire team. More than Jaden Daniels, Bobby Wagner, Dorrance Armstrong, Marcus Mariota, Jamin Davis, Tyler Biadasz, Jahan Dotson, Jeremy Chin, Frankie Luvu, literally everybody else. Samuel Cosme. We need to go ahead and wrap that up now. And so, if you thought that they potentially even fathom the idea of bringing them in, or at least allowing them to play left tackle or whatever, why would they have cut him to eat up that much dead cap if they wanted to potentially keep him? Like, this just doesn't even make sense. This guy's eating up 3.23% of the cap space right now, not on our team. They would have just kept him. If he was going to eat up that much cap space and there was any chance that they wanted him to play for us, they would have just kept him because his cap hit wasn't that crazy if we kept him on the team. They were like, man, they didn't want him so bad that they were willing to let him be our 5th biggest cap hit not on the team. That's how bad they didn't want him. So just to let you know, this will not happen. Charles Leno is not coming back because, again, first of all, where will he even play? But at the same time, I understand where this article is coming from. We may want to start looking at left tackles. I still would argue that David Bakhtiari on a very heavily incentivized contract would actually probably be our best move right now, in my opinion. But of course, you have, like, I believe Donaldson Smith is still out there. I believe you have DJ Humphries that may still be out there with his experience in Cliff Kingsbury's offense and for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you have options out there. None of them are necessarily great. David Bakhtiari, when healthy, is by far your best option out there. The problem is the health right there. That's why I say give him an incentivized contract similar to what Tyron Smith got with the Jets, where I believe he's only like a $6 million cap hit, but he can earn up to like $20 million based on how many games he plays and things like that. Give David Bakhtiari a very similar contract like that, in my opinion. But my point is, and why the article may not be completely wrong, is that we are in a situation where we do kind of need a left tackle right now. I'm not sure. I love Brandon Coleman's potential, but again, will he be ready by week 1? Will he be ready by week 5? We're not sure. I think at some point this season he will take over as a starting left tackle, but when will that be? And with a second overall pick franchise quarterback, you're putting all of the chips in on Jayden Daniels. We don't have time to go out there and throw bad left tackles out there to protect them. We just can't, especially with how crazy the edge rushes that we have to face are on this schedule. Now, granted, a lot of the top edge rushes, especially like when we're talking about NFC East wise, we face them towards the second half, so maybe Brandon Coleman will be starting by then. But even in these first few games, we're going against some pretty tough edge rushers. Whoever we throw out there better be good. And then, I mean, you have Cornelius Lucas. He's a decent pass protector, but when you're running the ball, you almost got to take him off the field. Then you have Trent Scott, another guy that, you know, he's pretty much the exact opposite, the like direct antithesis to Cornelius Lucas, where he's a good run blocker, very mobile. If you need somebody to pull that tackle, get to the second level or whatever, he's great for that. With all of the complicated run packages we're probably going to run between Jayden Daniels using his leg, Anthony Lynn is your run game coordinator. Yeah, Brian Robinson, you brought over Austin Eckler. We're going to try to run the ball a lot. Screen game, whatever. Trent Scott's great for all of that, but when it comes to pass protection, Jayden Daniels, you better get that ball out of your hands in less than 2 seconds. So right now, it's not looking too good as far as the tackle situation. We gotta, like, as a fan base, pray that Brandon Coleman can be ready to start by week 1, because if he does, then we don't have to worry about it. But until then, we do have a glaring weakness right now at left tackle. I don't really like either of the options between Cornelius Lucas or Trent Scott, because if you put them out there and ask them to do what they're not good at, they're gonna lose, and it's just gonna get blown up. You ask Trent Scott to pass protect, you ask Cornelius Lucas to run block. It's not gonna be a pretty sight, and we gotta really just wait till Brandon Coleman is ready, because he has the potential to be elite at both of those things, but it's gonna take some time. So, and I don't know if you want to run a system where Trent Scott comes out when you know you're running the ball, or Cornelius Lucas comes out when you know you're pass protecting, you're gonna throw the ball. But at the same time, I mean, first of all, that shows the other team exactly what you're doing. If Cornelius Lucas is on the field, then defenses know, oh yeah, they better be pass protecting, because if they're run blocking, we're just gonna blow that up anyway. It's similar to why you need a dual threat tight end so bad, especially in the modern NFL, because remember the situation where we had Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, great receiving tight ends, but they couldn't block to save their lives. Then you had Jeremy Sprinkle that could block but couldn't catch, and when either one of those guys were on the field, the defense literally knew what we were gonna do before we even did it. Jordan Reed and or Vernon Davis on the field, we're throwing the ball. Jeremy Sprinkle on the field, we're running the ball. Defense already knew what we were doing before we even snapped the ball. And that's similar to if you were to do something like that at the left tackle position. It would just literally forecast to the defense, hey, Cornelius Lucas is on the field. We're about to pass the ball. Jayden Daniels is about to do a 3 or a 5 step drop. Things like that. So that's just not good. And then also, even if you did do that and it somehow kind of worked, I don't know how it wouldn't be very efficient. You wouldn't be able to depend on it. But even then, like, getting out of the rhythm of the game, like subbing in a left tackle and changing them in and out throughout the course of a game, I mean, neither of those guys will be able to get into a rhythm. That just wouldn't be good. The chemistry between those left tackles being subbed in and out compared to the left guard who will potentially be starting, which I think it'll be our boy Nick Allegretti, but we'll see. I don't know. I just don't think that's a good situation right now. Left tackle is the biggest concern I have by far going into the regular season. Now, we still have all the training camp, we still have preseason, even a couple of joint practices against some really good teams before we get there. But right now, heading into training camp, left tackle is my biggest question mark. I agree with the article on that, but the answer being Charles Leno, I disagree wholeheartedly. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about the Frankie Luvu potentially making his first Pro Bowl in his NFL career. Do you feel like it's long deserved? Do you feel like this is the best situation for him to potentially reach that? The Ben Sinnott hype train, are you on it? Are you buying the stock while it's low, or are you gonna wait? Are you like, I gotta wait to see it? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm buying Ben Sinnott stock now after watching so much tape on him in Kansas State and projecting to what he's gonna be at the NFL level. I'm buying Ben Sinnott stock, but that's just me. Let me know how you feel about it, if you agree or disagree, and also let me know how you feel about the Commanders left tackle situation, especially how you feel about people saying that we should go and bring Charles Leno back. Let me know how you feel about all of that. Of course, do not leave this video without leaving a like. Again, happy 4th of July to everybody. Make sure y'all are safe. safe out there. Really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.